Appreciate y'all for being in here on this Thursday morning. Beautiful day, beautiful day, beautiful spring day. Hope y'all having a great uh, morning, you know, productive day. I just want to talk about, I usually don't talk about this a lot on my channel, but I want to talk about it. Relationships, uh, love relationships, finding the right one. A lot of people uh, they base finding the right one off of looks, off of appearance, And I think, you know, I think that's the wrong approach in a lot of cases. Of course, you want to be attracted to the person, you know, but that shouldn't be the all in all. I know a lot of attractive ladies I know. They're they're attractive, but their spirit is not connected to what I need. As far as a relationship. When I was single, there was a lot of females that wanted to talk to me. When I was single, and they was attractive, but at the same time, it just wasn't a connection. Uh, you know, the energy wasn't there. As far as approaching or building a relationship with that particular woman. And so it's just something we got to consider as far as being in a relationship. Sometimes we just jump into things just to jump into things without thought about things. And so we gotta think about relationships. Uh, are we building it with the right person or the right one? And so again, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hope y'all having a blessed day. Hope you're having a blessed day. But it's all about building a relationship with the right person. You know, they can have all the great looks, good looks, but if y'all not connected, uh, spiritually, that can be a bad thing. You know, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning. That can be a detrimental thing to your life. You may feel like you wasted time in life if you end up, trying to pursue the wrong person. You know, when you just base things off of appearance, how people look, and not base it off of how they treat you. It's a lot of relationships, like that. Happy birthday, Steph Key. Happy birthday. Hope you have a great birthday. Hope you have a great, enjoy your day. But yeah, it's a lot of people out here, you know, they get with people just because of appearance, and not because the person treat them right, or it's a person that they can trust. The reason I chose my wife is because she I can trust her, she can trust me. It's a even exchange, as far as trusting each other, being each other's best friend. You know, that's the main thing. Being each other's best friend, we could tell each other anything without, uh, you know, judging each other. Of course, we build each other up, and I feel like that's the main thing to, finding the right one to be with. You know, of course, you want to be attracted to each other. You know, you want to be attracted to each other. that is a big thing, a big deal. Uh, you want to be with somebody you wake up to and like, you're attracted to. Nothing wrong with that. But that shouldn't be the main. That shouldn't be the main deal as far as finding the right one. Okay, cool. So, yeah, appreciate y'all for being in here. Appreciate y'all for being in here. Hope y'all having a great day. But yeah, you gotta find the right one. Don't find just anything. Don't just be with anybody. You gotta be with someone that gives you value, and vice versa. You give them value. You give them a purpose. Or you help the other person understand their purpose in life. And my wife, she encouraged me to do the things I love to do, and I encourage her to do the things she loves to do. And so, it's great to find that person that really supports you and really behind you 100%. Because if you be with the wrong person, you'll feel like you've wasted time, or your life, you become depressed because you're not with that one that you supposed to have been with. I know a lot of instances like that. Particular person, they knew they should have been with this person, but they ended up with another person, and they feel like they regret it because they knew in their hearts of hearts that their energy matched with, another particular person, and that can be a crazy thing, you feel real bad about yourself not being with the right person. But you gotta take time with that person. Don't rush the process. If you're dating, don't rush into a relationship unless you really feel like, especially when you get older. Of course, when you're younger, you still trying to figure out yourself. But I'm saying, once you get in your 20s and your 30s, it's really time to focus and really, try to find who can I be in a serious relationship with. Because you're close to the age where you really want to have a family. You may want children and stuff like that. And so it's really, it's really that time where you really want to, find the right one, And so, yeah, again, appreciate y'all for being in here. Appreciate y'all for being in here. And, if anybody got a question about relationships, this is a part of my motivational on my channel. I think this is a great part of motivation, building a great relationship, because that can be a huge part of your life, your relationship, whoever you choose to be with, as far as a relationship. You got to be with someone that really elevates you, not hinder you from growing in life. You can't be with somebody that really stifles where you're trying to go, because that's not a good thing to have. You'd be wasting time being with someone that holds you back from success. You got to be with someone who really support what you want to do. Because a lot of people end up with a woman or a man that doesn't agree with the process that you want to go through, as far as life. The process you may want to go may take you longer than other people's success, And so, what's up, DCF? So you want to find the right relationship, the right person to be with in life. Like I said, when I appreciate you, DCF. Hope you've been blessed too. But like I said, when I start dating my wife, we build up to being best friends first. I feel that's very important. Be each other's best friend first, and then the other thing is someone you can trust with anything. You might want, it's somebody that you can really talk to about things that you wouldn't talk to with anybody else. You know, that's the person that's very trustworthy. With not only you but your heart. And that's a huge thing. Somebody you can trust. Hey, how did you begin to make sure you can trust her? It's just small things that you see. The small things that you can tell. Sometimes at the beginning of a relationship, you have doubts on that issue of trust, and then you some things you feel like you don't want to tell. But over time, you can tell because your things that you tell them is not out there, that nobody else knows. Or even small things. Maybe you can trust her with something. It's just small things. Not only physical things, but things you be thinking about, and you were like, I don't trust anybody else with this thing that I've been thinking about, or I've been holding, in my mind. And you tell them, and they don't tell anyone else. Or at first, when I first got in a relationship with my wife, you never, well, that was my first experience really, trusting, so it's kind of hard to answer that question. It's just things you have to, I wouldn't say test out, because that's not, you don't want to test out things, but it just, over time, I've seen that I can trust her with, things that's been on my mind. She don't judge me for feeling certain types of feelings. And so, things like that. Sometimes it's hard to trust someone, DCF say, but some people you can tell, yeah. And that's how I could tell with my wife. She's a very pure person. She doesn't, you could tell she didn't have a reputation of being a gossiper. She doesn't have a reputation of getting over on people. My wife, she's still a very generous person. And so I could tell, seeing how she interact with other people, seeing how people treat her and how people respect her, I knew that, she was a great woman. And so you just got to see, like, when you go into a relationship, you got to see how people interact with the person you want to go with. If you're a woman, you see how a man treats his mom, his family, things like that, or just see if you're a woman, you gotta see how a man treats, a lady in general. If they treat them, they disrespectful, that's a red flag. That she's not the one. How are the walks with her? Do y'all? Yeah. When I be with my wife and we have walks, they're deep. Sometimes deep topics, especially when we, started getting serious with each other. We started having deep topics about certain things in both our past. Things we wanted to deal with, things that we want to get better at, and we didn't judge each other. At the beginning, we just talked. How can we deal with the situations. And so, yeah, we still have deep discussions. What's on our mind? She often asks me what's on my mind. Because us man, we get very proudful about what we're thinking because we don't want people to know our true feelings. I think that's an issue with a lot of men, that we don't really want to discuss our true feelings about certain situations because we macho man, we want to hold things in. We don't just want to discuss our true feelings and stuff like that. And I was able to discuss my true feelings with my wife, and she didn't think I was less of a man because you know sometimes maybe I cry because I felt bad about certain things, or I was felt depressed or anxiety. She didn't judge me. She just talked with me, and she was a shoulder I could be on. In those times where I felt like I was less than. But not less than compared to her, but less than compared to life. In general. And so, yeah, finding the right one, it may take time. Some people, after your conversation, you feel that you progressed and got better and more calm, and you got something off you. Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly. You know, that's the person that you would want to be with. That you got something off your chest. You don't want somebody that creates drama. You don't want nobody that is not sympathetic to your feelings. You want somebody that really listens. Listen to your uh, issues, your situations. You know, celebrate you when you're doing good. And console you when you feel like you're not having a great day. Somebody who willing to listen. And that's a great. That's a sign of a person that has great character. Someone who's able to listen and really help you out, contribute to your life. And if a lot of people uh, they end up with somebody that doesn't listen, who devalues the other person. You know, and there's a lot of it's a lot of women out here. I don't mean it. I'm not sounding sexist, but a lot of women, I feel like they need to find their value as far as finding a man. A lot of women always settle for these guys that treat them bad. It's a lot of issues, domestic violence, and a lot of men find the wrong woman. A lot of women they be hitting their man, and they cause their man to be very violent in return. And the man carry that that attitude in the next relationship because they woman treated them bad. That can happen. I've seen that happen. A woman is very uh, the woman is very abusive in a marriage, a relationship, and the guy carry that type of behavior in the next relationship, and so that can happen as well. You can't have a good relationship with a dishonest and judgy woman. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, it's a lot of situations out here, but you just gotta find the right one, the one you feel like your life can progress. You don't want to be with a person that holds you back. I've seen a lot of instances where a woman or a man be with a woman, or a man, a woman be with a man, and it kind of holds them back. You know, you're not the person that you used to be before you was with this man. You used to have so much, value, more value in yourself. You used to treat yourself more respectful. And now that you with this man or woman, you're not the same person. I've seen that before. You're not the same person you used to be. You know, before this particular person got in their life. And so that's some things we gotta think about. We gotta see. Most importantly, we gotta see the red flags at the beginning of a relationship. We got to see the red flags in a relationship. You know, sometimes we don't see it. You know, we don't see it at the beginning, you know, of a relationship. And so, you know, we have this period where we just don't see no progression in our life. And a lot of times we got to find a way to break away from that. You know, if we've made that mistake being with someone, you know, don't just be there just to be there. You know, don't just get a relationship because you just want a relationship. You want to be in a relationship, you know, so your life, you know, find somebody to make your life better. You know, somebody may see your life from a different standpoint, and they can help you get to that next level. And that's the relationship that you really, you know, that you want to be in. As far as relationship, DCF says it's crazy how someone could change after a bad relationship and be toxic. Yeah. How you doing, Moonlight Mooney? Yeah, I remember you. Hope you're having a great day. Oh yeah, you're a subscriber. Oh, day going well. My day going well. Again, appreciate y'all for being here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hopefully I have some more I'm gonna have some more videos like this about relationships. I think that's very important for life. Appreciate you, DCF. Yeah, I always have a topic to talk about that I think about each day. You know, it's random. You know, things I just have on the top of my head that I feel I need to talk about. Things on my mind, things I see. You know, and I talk about it on this channel. Again, appreciate y'all for being in here. Appreciate y'all for watching. But please subscribe to my channel. You know, if you got any comments after you see this live, feel free to comment. Now, I'm sure to respond. DCF can attest to that. You know, if you send a comment, you know, I'll respond to your question or your comment. But yeah, you got to find the right one in life. You know, don't just rush into relationships because you just want a relationship, but you just, you know, find, you know, the right one that you want to be with and see how life turns out. You know, don't just rush in a relationship because you feel alone. But get into a relationship to find someone that can build your life in the best way possible. And so again, appreciate you for tuning in. All right, peace.